Hi everyone, my name is Ethan. I'm the lead product manager at Paragon, and today I'm excited to introduce Paragraph, our integrations as code framework. With Paragraph, you can define integrations in Typescript, commit them to a Git repository, and deploy them to the Paragon dashboard from your CI/CD pipelines. And with our Git Sync feature, you can keep changes in sync from both sides, enabling your team to use both the dashboard and the Git repository to modify integrations. So let's jump into a demo. As a quick refresher on Paragon, our platform allows you to build native integrations and embed them directly into your app. So here's a sample app that we spun up to represent your app's integration page. As you can see in the Connect portal embedded into the app, there's a Salesforce contact sync feature that users can enable. So now let's see the workflow that's powering this feature behind the scenes in both the visual editor and in Paragraph. So you can see that this workflow is fairly straightforward. We receive a new record trigger from Salesforce for new contacts. We search for that contact by an email and either update it or create it depending on whether or not it already exists in our database. So now let's see that same workflow, but in our Paragraph file. I'll open Paragraph here, and you can see that each workflow is defined as a separate TypeScript file. It starts with the record created trigger from Salesforce, moves to the search by email step from the request step, and proceeds to either the create contact or update contact steps. So each step in Paragraph is first defined for each parameter that we have available in our library. And then finally, you orchestrate the steps to construct the workflow graph. So you can see here that our trigger starts with the search email step, moves to a branching condition for when true or when false, and either updates or creates depending on that condition. So now I want to create a new workflow for this integration that syncs tasks from my app to Salesforce. So I'll start by using our CLI, which allows us to generate a new workflow. So I'll run para new workflow for the Salesforce integration. It's going to prompt me to title the workflow. I'll say sync new tasks to Salesforce. And we'll get a new file that appears in our project. What I'll do now is I'll define an app event step that triggers whenever we send an app event for a new task. So I'll change this type of step to a new event step, and I'll pass in our app event from the new task event. Next, I'll define a new Salesforce step. To define a Salesforce step, I'll first name the step, create task step, and then I'll call integration.actions, which gives us all the pre-built workflow actions that we have available for Salesforce. So in this case, I'll create record. And next, I'll pass in the options that are required for this step. I'll first specify that the type of record we want to create is a task, and I'll set the subject to something from the app event step. Set the task subtype also to task, and also set a description. Finally, I'll take the step that I just created, orchestrate it to be run right after the first trigger step, and then pass it to the register function to make sure that Paragraph registers the new step that we've created. So before I go ahead and deploy this workflow, I can run para build to make sure that this workflow produces a valid workflow in the workflow editor. Looks like it's successfully built, but before pushing my new changes, I want to run this past my team. So I'll create a new branch called Ethan/new tasks, and I'll go ahead and commit everything. And I'll go ahead and push up to the origin. Great. I'll open a pull request to allow my team to review my work. Pull requests give me a text-based difference of all changes that occurred to my integrations. So Paragraph makes this really easy to verify all of the integration logic changes on a specific branch. So teammates can comment inline on my code. We can have discussions about what changes should be made as a part of this pull request. And when it comes time to merge, I can click Merge Pull Request. With our Git Sync feature, changes sync bidirectionally and automatically between my Paragon dashboard and this GitHub repository. So once I merge this pull request, our CI/CD pipeline will automatically start pushing those changes back to my Paragon dashboard. So you can see that the CI workflow has now passed and the merged changes have successfully been synced back to the dashboard. If I navigate back to the dashboard, I can see the new workflow appear in my Salesforce integration, and any commits that have been made to the project over time will appear in the Git Sync sidebar. Once I'm ready to deploy to my users, I can use our release environments feature to start a new release. I'll click on my staging environment first, head over to the Releases tab and click Create Release. Releases shows me a summary of what has changed since I last deployed, as well as any deployment messages that I'll need to resolve beforehand. Once I'm ready to deploy, I can fill out a version number, set a description, and click Deploy. So that's a quick overview of our next generation development tools in Paragon. With Paragraph, Git Sync, and release environments, we built a full suite of tools to make Paragon engineering native from dev all the way to deploy. And we did this because we felt like it was time for iPaaS solutions to connect with the engineering tools and best practices that people are already using to deploy software. So things like code review, unit testing, CI/CD, those are all important pillars of software development that you shouldn't now need to sacrifice in order to use an iPaaS. So that's why we're so excited for Paragraph. We believe it's the next big step for engineering teams to scale up their integration strategy, and we can't wait to see what you build with it. Thanks.